Peace. Peace. This your boy Selah-Shalom. Cosmon teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible Oahspe. As we continue on with a summary of decoding the Bible with the Oahspe. Now, you have a lot of people who talk about the imaginary God, the invincible God in the sky, the spook God in the sky. But what is the root of that concept? Because that is really ridiculed on the Christians and the Muslims, that they believe in an invincible God in the sky. And we know, according to the scriptures, God is in the image of a man. So they're looking at this invisible man in the sky. But where did that ideology and concept come from? Now we know Christianity is rooted in Egypt. The Torah, the tanak, is rooted in Egypt. So now, the savior of Christianity is Jesus. And I already exposed Jesus as an invented character. And Jesus, being an offshoot of Serapis being an offshoot of two Egyptian deities, Apis and Asar. And Asar was considered the savior. So when we trace the root of this mythical Jesus and this mythical Serapis, and we trace it to Asar being the root and the head, Egypt would be the root and the head of the invincible God concept. The proof of this is how they deified humanoid figures with nature and the sun, moon, and stars. So these became your first invisible gods in the sky. This is the root of the concept of the invisible God, being Osiris and Aset, Horus and Seth. Those are your four gods in the sky that are deified in human form, which makes them idols. And they did worship Osiris. They did worship Aset. They had followers of Seth and followers of Horus. So they deified these deities as gods. The texts say so. So the root of the invisible God comes out of Egypt. The spook, along with Sumeria, with the Anunnaki tale. So now, coming to Christianity, the precursors of Christianity is Serapian worship, the worship of Serapis. Serapis was created or invented by Ptolemy. So we're talking 300 BC is the start of this invented character. During the time of Constantine and the Council of Nicaea and the rest of the councils, they perfected this invented character, being Serapis, and then into Jesus, creating a story around him and perfecting it as they go through history. So now we have a complete and perfect story of an invented character. To the point where if you was to tell a person or a Christian or a Muslim that Jesus did not exist, he was invented, and the stories were selected from other historical figures, a lot of people would have a hard time accepting that. One of the reasons is that a lot of people don't study history, and another thing is that a lot of people believe without researching. So when you break their belief, they get defensive, they get argumentative. But it's okay, because that's part of breaking free from the shackle of the lies, as long as they be persistent in seeking the truth. But if you don't be persistent, you'll just hearken your heart, and you'll just become a subservient slave to that false God who invented this invented character. And Lou among the false Christ is your false God of Christianity. He is the head chief of your religion. He is the one responsible for inspiring Constantine in his vision to design a cross. And when he took this cross to the battle at Malivian Bridge with Maximus, he defeated Maximus. And then Christianity officially began at that point. 3rd century AD. But the inspiring angel behind that was Luamon, who styled himself Christ. The term Christ, chrestos in Greek, meant good, and also referred to deity worship. God was considered a chrestos. Lord was considered a chrestos. They were deified, and the term chrestos plays in that part. So before the term Christos became Christ and meant anointed, it referred to a deity and good in pre-Christian time. The New Testament was written by the Greeks, and the inspiring angel behind the New Testament was Lou among your false Christ. That's his gospel. And in the invented character of Jesus, it says that Jesus is going to return. This has to be the biggest deception ever. Because by the fallen angel planting that belief in mortals, mortals will forever be waiting on Jesus to return. And as long as mortals believe that one day Jesus will return, they will continue to accept this belief. And this was a trick by the fallen angel to keep his doctrine in the minds of mortals throughout the ages. And throughout the ages, these mortals who cross over become subservient slaves to his heavenly kingdom. Because the purpose of the fallen angels is to win the spirits of mortals, to populate their heavenly kingdoms, to make them into slaves, to build up things. Just like how we were slaves in America and in the Caribbean, building up for somebody else, doing their dirty work. Same concept in the heavens among the angels. So, the God of Christianity is not the creator, the omnipotent as you would believe, but a fallen angel named Luamon, falsely styled the Christ. The earliest symbol of the Christian cross is the Chi in a row, the Greek letters X and P. The crossbow, and the X and the P represents a sword going through the X. Through this you shall conquer. Through this sign you shall conquer, as it was given to Constantine. And then they perfected this cross into what you have now, Jesus hanging on the cross. That's the crucifixion symbol. So you have to be very careful when you accepting these religions, placing your soul and your faith in this doctrine, which is now being deciphered to be plagiarized and the works of fallen angels, which in return is your Satan, a deceiver, a liar, an opposer to truth. That's all Satan means. And anybody who expressed that behavior and character and lead others to that is considered a fallen angel and Satan. Now when we come to Islam, Islam falls in the same category of Christianity. Now, Muhammad had a vision, or he came in contact with Gabriel. Gabriel told Muhammad to recite. Muhammad said he couldn't read or write. So Gabriel pressed upon Muhammad to write, to recite. But in Islam, my Muslim brothers don't realize that Gabriel had an intention. He was carrying out resentment for something promised to him by the angel Luamung, who established Christianity. See, Gabriel, who established Islam through Prophet Muhammad, is the same angel who established Christianity for Luamung, the false Christ. Gabriel inspired Constantine at the war at Millennium Bridge with Maximus. The same Gabriel that inspired Islam is the same one who inspired Constantine. Oahspe revealed these things, showing you the correlation among the angels and mortals on earth, and how the wars in heaven become wars on earth. That's why Christians and Muslims can't get along, because of these two angels, Luamung, the false Christ, and Gabriel, the false Allah. So when Gabriel inspired Muhammad, Gabriel's intention was to establish a base on earth so he can establish his doctrine to rival against the false Christ, which in return is Christianity. So now Gabriel has his doctrine on earth under the disguise of Islam, under the disguise of Allah. I described that Allah is a title, and Gabriel is the God of Islam. Oahspe is showing you how fallen angels established these religions to imprison the minds of mortals. So Christians and Muslims are both under the disguise of fallen angels. Now you could do good works. Christians do good works among each other. Muslims do good works among each other. But they still subservient slaves to their gods when they cross over. So the point of doing these vids, decoding the Bible with the Oahspe, is to show how the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible are plagiarized texts. They're not authentic. We haven't had an authentic record for a long time. Now don't get me wrong, in the Bible there are things that are of authenticity. Let me make that distinction, so you don't think I'm just bashing the Bible and saying that there's nothing in there that's of value. There is things in there that are valuable. The words of the prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Amos, Obadiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, those are authentic doctrine, because the prophets prophesied the coming captivity, and you can see the proof of that on the black obelisk of Assyria, where you see the Hebrews going into captivity. But the creation story, the Adam and Eve and the flood, are not authentic scripts. They were plagiarized from the Sumerians and the Egyptians. The New Testament is not authentic. It's a plagiarization of a fallen angel, Luamung. The Tanak is not authentic. It's a plagiarization of Luamung too. What's authentic in the Tanakh is the writings and the accounts of the prophets. So you have to sift, weigh, and assort these things, which I have done. So now, if that's the case, then what is the truth? Where do we go from here? This is why the Oahspe was revealed. Oahspe is probably going to be the most controversial book in the coming years once it becomes recognized. It's going to be very controversial for the fact that a lot of people are religious and they believe that Jesus' writings is the last, and the Muslims believe Prophet Muhammad's and the Quran writings are the last, and no one else is to come after. But now you have this book called the Oahspe, which contains an account of these things, of history. And it gives you a way out. Now, You don't have to have the book to know how to progress in the spirit world after you die, or even to progress while you are on earth. You could be progressing unknowingly, not knowing you're doing the works of the Creator. You could be doing the works of the Creator unknowingly, while you have those who think they're doing the works of the Creator and are under the disguise of a fallen angel. Oahspe shows that the Creator, Jehovih, is the omnipotent, no beginning, no end, the ever-present. That's how Jehovah is described in Oahspe from the beginning to end. Never contradicting itself one time to say that he's a man. In the Oahspe, angels and mortals are the sum of creation. Mortals to represent on the planetary bodies, and angels to represent in the atmospheric and the etherian planes, or space. Just like we can travel on a terrestrial level from one continent to another continent on an airplane, likewise can the angels travel from one planet to another planet, or another solar system to another solar system, based off the years and experience. Oahspe revealed these things. Oahspe showed you the continuation of progression in the spirit world, showing you that you're never confined. You never get to one point and stop. It's always progression, endlessly. There's no end to the progression. You just continue to get better and perfect as you go. That's what the Oahspe reveals. Oahspe reveals that all mortals are brothers and sisters. Oahspe reveals that after mortal death, all mortals become angels.